Welcome to Living Once Twice, a lifestyle design and personal adventure podcast. My name is Justin. Come with me as I'm here to help you chart your course for creating the fulfilling life you desire. Join me as every Wednesday we'll dive into the inspiring guest stories, remarkable science, and useful strategies to help you create the momentum you need to take action towards designing your dream life. Remember, your dream life is waiting for you. It's time to go for it. You deserve it. Greetings all, and welcome to Living Once Twice. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I'm very excited to bring on today's guest, Regina Brown. And just a little background, Regina is a senior strategy advisor, philanthropist, vinyasa teacher, wellness advocate, entrepreneur, and so much more that you're going to get to learn about today. Regina, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
So good. Thanks, Justin. So good to be here with you today. How are you?
Very, very well, and super, once again, excited to get this opportunity to connect. Just for our listeners, I'll give them a little background. So, to all of you out there, Regina was my very first yoga teacher
Love
when I moved
that.
out here to California. Yes, yes, yes. And so, for me, this is really awesome to get to share with our listeners out there. Once again, all of the amazing things that you do, especially your journey into yoga, which we'll definitely get to touch on. So, Regina, as I kind of just alluded to, there's so much insight that you have to share with our listeners. And I know we'll talk about various topics. I definitely want to touch on mindfulness, the power of affirmations, positive thinking, as we really talk on this show about creating momentum towards designing your dream life. But before we dive into those powerful tools, can you just tell our audience a little more about your story, where you're from, and what you do for a living?
Great. So I'm originally from Carson, California. It's in the LA area. Not lots of people know about Carson, but it's near like Long Beach, Torrance, kind of like in that little pocket in the South Bay. I grew up there, and then I went to school at Howard University in Washington, D.C. I majored in marketing with a minor in journalism. And then from there, from that journey, I began just working in marketing and advertising. Starting out working in Dallas, actually, I was recruited right from school, and a beautiful opportunity in Dallas. And then I knew that I wanted to live in New York and work in the creative industry in that area. So I then moved to New York, which was wonderful. And that's kind of also at the end of my time in New York, I started my yoga practice as well. But I worked on Madison Avenue at various agencies and account management. And, that was great. And then I made my journey to Oakland. And I worked for an agency here that recruited me into Oakland, which I live now. And that has been beautiful. And I've continued to work in, consulting and strategy and marketing. I did move to LA and then back to Oakland, back to the Bay Area, and continued my consulting journey. I probably started consulting and kind of doing independent projects about, let's say, 8, 9 years ago. And it's all a part of what you're saying, thinking differently, figuring out how I could make my own schedule. Because, I think a lot of times on the side of the business I was in before, we were always at the beck and call of the client. So how can you flip that so you can make your own schedule and work with clients that you want to work with? And then you have a little more control because, they're your clients, right? At that point that you're a consultant. So that has actually worked out well. In terms of my yoga journey, I actually started taking classes, let's say sometime when I was, leaving kind of around the time when I was transitioning from New York to Oakland, and I absolutely loved it. Absolutely amazing. And then from there, I just continued the practice, and it's been part of my life ever since. So that's
Mm.
who I am. That's kind of my background. And I know we'll go into more pockets later, but that kind of sums me up.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was fascinating and such a fascinating journey you've been on in the different cities and places that you've lived. And something that you mentioned that I want to dive deeper into was you talked about, kind of now that you're in kind of the consulting space, but and you have more flexibility and I guess ownership of your schedule. When did you kind of when did that start to resonate with you? What, that, hey, this type of schedule or being at kind of the beck and call of others might not be the fit for me long term. Like when did that seed start to kind of plant in your mind that, hey, maybe I would like to do something different, have more flexibility or ownership of my life?
It started when I was working on really kind of big value accounts, and you just had these schedules that were so intense. I was on like just meetings until let's say midnight, and then on a plane at 6 a.m. actually, to make a client presentation, and that kind of that schedule of that heightened intensity is just not necessarily the best. Although you got the best creative creative product, and it was beautiful, it was just so much work that went into that kind of was a little unnecessary, right? When you take a step back and look at the big picture and how the system is working, it's like, is that really necessary? Do you really have to be here until like 1
Mhm.
a.m., And you realize you really don't. And there's a different way to do this. And through the years, I was able, I have enough experience that, I do enjoy writing, right? I do enjoy, developing ideas. I do enjoy developing strategy. I do enjoy figuring out a different way for brands to position themselves, things like that. And I did enjoy that. And I can do it on my own outside of, being in an environment and working with different clients. So I work with nonprofits, I work with tech, for profit, lots of different types of wellness, lots of different types of clients. So it allowed me to be more creative and also have
Mhm.
more control. And when I realized I could do it, when I started working on, like, I would work on short-term projects or long-term projects, and they would just continue. Then I realized, okay, this can really work. I can really continue to move this forward.
Oh, I love this part because for some of our listeners out there, when you kind of talk about you slowly start to realize that wait, I can do this on my own. And you at the end there, you talked about maybe doing some short-term projects to kind of build that momentum. How yeah, share a little bit more too about how did you develop your mindset? Like, did you at first think to yourself, like, I guess did you mentally have to start hyping yourself up to be able to say, like, hey, I could take this leap on my own? You said you took some short-term projects. Were those like confidence boosters? Like, how did you start to develop your mindset, I guess, for being an entrepreneur, then eventually taking that leap into it?
Yeah, and I've always been a person, like, say, let's outside of work and everything, kind of inspiring, motivating, and positive energy. I know lots of friends are always like, "Oh, you're so positive. You're so this." And I always have that kind of thinking that you can do this, and I'm encouraging others, and at the same time, pushing myself and saying, you can, like, really create your own space. You can think outside the box and not necessarily just be working at this inside of this 9 to 5 sphere, and you can create this full life that you want, because I think everyone definitely is multifaceted. Even though you might have one major, you might have one career, we're all creative, and you can come up with a myriad of things that you could do. So why not, do them all to create your life? And actually, just tapping into your own creativity makes your life better. Even if it's a small thing, it's painting a picture that you want, right? That actually makes all the difference. You can, just because you might be, I don't know, labeled as an accountant, and that's your career, you could still be an artist. So thinking that, realizing that this makeup, this structure that the world has, or the majority of the world has for you, you don't have to live in that, and you can do something different.
Mm, I love that, and especially the part that you kind of talk about where you can think differently than this 9 to 5 construct that we have, but we do know, and yourself being a positive thinker and having that mindset that there are others of us out there who do struggle with mental blocks, that internal dialogue in our mind or that self-doubt in our mind that creeps in that maybe makes us hesitate before, stepping into it and really designing our dream life. So, what
Absolutely.
are yeah, what are some strategies or tips that you would share with someone who's out there once again, maybe they're dealing with some of those mental blocks, that internal dialogue that's really preventing them from believing in themselves that this could be possible?
Yeah, I would say bringing mindfulness practices forward. So, meditation is amazing. At least spending 10 minutes a day in meditation. There's so many different types of meditation you can do, and you can find them online, right, or in an app. In addition to that, affirmations, writing down affirmations, your own affirmations, using those words like, I am amazing, I am beautiful, I am great, I can do all these things. So, those affirmations really make all the difference in the world. And in addition to that, just really writing down your goals, writing down your intentions. I know even in my classes, I always, since the beginning of teaching, I always have people bring an intention forward. And so, bringing your intentions forward and writing things down. There's a time I would do like morning pages. So you write all of your thoughts
Mm.
down at the beginning of the day. Just write down everything, anything that's going on in your mind, and it just opens up space for you to be focused the rest of your day, right? So that's great. And I mean, sometimes people are, living within this 9 to 5 construct and following their passion. So that's beautiful. And, people should continue that. But you can also add other things on. And the idea is that you don't have to be limited to that space. There's so much more that you could bring to your life to make it fuller.
Mm. And you gave some great strategies there, from the meditation, the affirmations, morning pages as well. So all these various tools that others out there can look at and really use to their own benefit. So could you share more about your journey into that? Was that something that yoga introduced to you? And once again, like how did you get into that journey of yoga, and if it had any influence on you exploring all of these tools such as meditation and affirmation, things of that nature?
Yeah, I was just interested in yoga. I, saw that it was great, and lots of people, were having it seemed, great experiences with it. So I went to a studio when I was in Brooklyn, and I started off with Bikram actually, and then realized it was a bit too limiting for me. But I did like, the it initially, and that was part of my practice probably for the first year or so, and
Well,
then
could you share a little bit too, Regina, about what Bikram, what style that is for those
yeah,
that
so
aren't familiar?
it's just a series of sequences in a heated room, a very, very, very hot room, and just a series of continuous, repeating sequences. And the room, I think, is up to 110 degrees. But I know in my, for me, I like creativity and like kind of to flow freely and have a little more just kind of different sequences. So things like vinyasa, I really kind of had an affinity for. And I actually, went through when I wanted to start teaching, I knew that's when I started creating this different schedule. So I was consulting. And then I was like, okay, I have a little more flexibility in my time. I can probably add on teaching some classes. So I should find a training that I like. So it took me a while though to find something that I really enjoyed and I thought would, match kind of what I wanted to bring forward and match the practice that I like to do. So I took, when I was living in LA, I looked at a few places there and I almost did my training there and didn't really see anything that I totally had an affinity for. Then when I was in the Bay Area, I found Yoga to the People, and I really enjoyed them at that time because of the fact that it was donation based and it was yoga for everyone, and that's part of really the reason why I like teaching also, and really continuing to access all those communities because of the fact that it should be for everyone. You shouldn't feel like you have to pay a certain amount for a an extensive amount for a class or anything like that. And it should really be for everyone. And there are a lot of communities that really need it that don't know about it, that don't have the resources. And I think it can make a total difference. So that is what drew me to really doing my training there almost 10 years ago, and then continuing to move forward and teaching throughout.
Yeah, and then speaking to the piece about just the benefits again of you talk about helping others set an intention with their class or with your classes. What are also some of the benefits, or someone who maybe hasn't done yoga out there, but is maybe seeing like, oh, maybe this is something I could try that could be useful in my journey. Are there additional benefits that you could highlight for anyone out there who hasn't explored yoga or might be considering it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good health and wellness practice. It's good in terms of if you, there is a, physical benefit as well. If you continue with a concerted practice, your body is, more limber, more flexible. And that mindfulness actually helps with that. It opens up your just thinking, the way that you focus and move throughout your days, and just kind of having you take a step back versus kind of just, rushing into your days or rushing into thinking if you're making decisions and things like that. It actually, helps eliminate toxins in your body because just a lot of the poses you do kind of help like massage your internal organs, lots of different things. So it has a myriad of beautiful benefits. And that comes with a continued practice. So a continued regimen. And that's with anything, right? So
Mhm.
starting a habit, right? A good habit and bringing that forward and continuing with that will make all the difference in the world in your life.
Mm. So let's talk about habits, and we'll definitely I have some questions for you later, but about habits and but one in particular I want to ask you is like as you think about your journey, what has been probably the most impactful habit for yourself or habits that have really sustained you in your entrepreneurial journey and designing your own life? Like what habits in particular really stand out to you as being like profound?
I would say bringing mindfulness into everything that I do. So bringing these wellness practices forward into my life. And that's made a difference for, numerous years. In addition to that, really checking in with yourself in terms of where you, in terms of your intentions, your goals, your visions, and writing those down, and not just at the beginning of the year, all throughout the year, right? And then visioning your dreams and maybe making vision boards, kind of as often as you can. And if people start the year with vision boards, maybe making them, a few times throughout the year, and bring always having that in your mind, that positive thinking and seeing where you want to be, right? And bringing that forward. So I would say, so sum it up, being intentional, checking in with yourself, writing down your intentions, going back to them often. And then in addition to that, bringing a regimented kind of like wellness practice forward.
Mm. And these are some great tips that you're sharing that, because many of us have been forced to slow down finally,
Right.
in the
Absolutely.
current state of the world. Yeah. So like for you, I mean, have you kind of emphasized that to those that, come to your classes, or have you kind of seen what's happening in the world and with a different lens of like, hey, this might for some people be a good opportunity to become more mindful, to become more intentional?
Yes, I have. And I have been bringing self focus on different things in class. And I'll, tell students what intention I'm bringing forward at times, and then so they can share in that, or even ask what's going on with them, in their life. And then sharing that, I know wellness space, where I teach, they've been asking for me to, contribute articles about mindfulness and what people can do, different tips. People can do like spending time in nature, vitamin D, and figuring out things that people can do in the midst of this pandemic that we're in right now to make their practices deeper, and then also add in other things. So for sure, yes, it has shifted kind of the way that I teach, and I've done, like, I did a heart opening sequence a few months ago because I think when there are different poses that focus on different parts of the body, and we all need to, some heart opening now and love now because of what's going on in the world, since everybody kind of is often in isolated
Mhm.
situations, and there's just a lot happening, right? So I have been bringing a lot of that forward.
And hearing you talk about people, it brings up a question for me, because once again, a lot of us are meeting with each other in virtual space, but
Yes.
what's the role of community been like for you and in your journey? Like, how would you, the role, yeah, once again, what's the role community has played for you as you think about it?
Yeah, it's been really strong. So I have a strong community of friends that I talk to often, strong family, and even community of folks that I work with. From a kind of nonprofit perspective as well, and also kind of in different organizations I've participated in. Right. So, community has played a strong part in kind of finding that balance for me and continuing to stay grounded and actually communicating, my goals and having people sharing that with me and really enjoying this journey that I'm on. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, and I agree with you because it's an interdependent world. Like none of us can do this alone. So
Right.
it's
Yeah, we can't.
great to hear that you're grounded in that.
Really, I think you need that. You definitely need that where, for you guys to be, you have to kind of be a reflection of each other. I know that's part of my brand that I recently have been launching is it's a word called, and it's called it's sawubona is the word, and it's where everybody is here to realize each other's greatness and activate each other's journey. So we're reflections of each other
Mm.
and then moving forward in life at this point in time. Today, where we today is September 27th. We're here together because we're supposed to be here doing this, right?
Excellent, excellent. So the next part of our conversation, Regina, is going to be our each one teach one section. So these are really just going to be rapid fire questions. I have four for you. So hopefully you are ready. And
Sure.
just first thing that comes to your mind, just share with our audience. So the first one is, what book has changed your life?
There's so many books that have changed my life. I would say Daring Greatly by Brene Brown, right? So I love that book. It's really great. All of her, TED Talks are amazing. And that book in particular really allows you to, and tells you about kind of just jumping out there and realizing that you can, realize your dreams can't come to fruition. So doing that, but I would mention a few other books too, like anything by Malcolm Gladwell. The Miseducation of
Mhm.
the Negro is a favorite. The autobiography of Malcolm X, Tenacity, and The Alchemist. And then another favorite is, a short book, but the Four Agreements. That's actually a big
Mm.
one. So I couldn't just say just one. Just kind of similar to like who are my mentors. There's so many people that have
Mhm.
done great things that I, kind of look up to. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. How did they achieve that? Same thing with a few books. I would say that there's, a few out there, not just one.
No, no, I appreciate you sharing such great
Yeah.
brain food for the audience to like to go out there and explore and absorb. So thank you for that. Now speaking of like people, and once again, mentors may have shared this with you, but what in terms of our next rapid fire question, what's the best career or life advice you've gotten?
I would say that someone has given me, right?
Hmm.
Yes. I would say just really taking a step back and looking at what works for you and staying focused on your own path because there's so many things going on around you, right? And so many people have similar paths, but it's not your path. So make sure you have your own visions and then, staying focused on those and then moving forward with that and keeping your own, as things go on in the world, there's so much going on with the pandemic, with, things are going on with like, the revolution that we have going on right now. Um, Seeing where you fit and then also how what you need to do to continue your path and continue moving those things forward that are important and authentic to you. So always coming back to
Mm,
yourself, I would say, if I could
love it.
sum that up.
It all starts with us, so I love
Yeah,
it. So
absolutely.
the next one is, oh, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I agree with you.
um, so the next is going to be finish the sentence. So the most beautiful part about life is,
The most beautiful part about life is experience. It's an infinite experience. Like you never know what tomorrow will bring. What happened yesterday, is a reflection, and then you never know what's going to happen next month. And you can have everything planned out. And here we are in 2020 with all of these, surprising things going on. So it's an experience. It's a beautiful experience, is what I would say.
yes, and that's a great reminder for us all that to look at the beautiful ride and
Yeah,
everything that's
absolutely.
going on with
Yes.
it. So our last rapid fire question is, if you had, Regina, all the resources on the planet, so time, money, people power, what would be your like passion project that you would like to bring to life in the world?
I would say integrating mindfulness practices everywhere throughout all communities and all systems. I feel like it can make a difference. You just kind of checking in with yourself, taking a moment for meditation, can make a difference in any environment, right? So, and also in terms of like affirmations, positive affirmations, and things like that. So, from governments to schools to businesses to communities, I think bringing those practices forward make all the difference in the world. Like you see, if you can see public art in different communities and say, I am beautiful. The child is walking down the street seeing that, saying, I'm beautiful, regardless of what's going on at home or what's happening. And that's mindfulness because they're repeating that in their mind every day. And then even what's going on in the police systems. I mean, having some sort of integrating meditation. So they're not, making decisions out of fear or making decisions out of like just kind of quick reactions. How can they slow down? How can they slow down and just kind of change what they're doing, right? So I think these mindfulness practices can help any and all environments. So if we could, have all the money in the world to give everybody access and then, teach them, show them how it could work, that would be great.
Mm, mm, love it. Especially that whole reprogramming of the mind, which is
Right.
so.
Yeah, it's all about, deprogramming your minds so that you're not kind of just thinking like the masses. How can you change that? How can you shift that? And a lot of that is reading, practicing, researching, and just kind of knowing that there's more out there than just what you're being served.
Mm. And so, I mean, we've had, a great opportunity to get to hear your story, Regina, and learn about you. So could you also share just with our listeners, what's next for you and where can people go to find you and learn more?
So what's next for me? I'm continuing with consulting, so continuing on that path. And I recently have launched a brand, which is you can find it at www.ginaliz.com, and it will encompass a lot of things. So it's wellness, anything that has to do with like self love and self preservation, which is, what we're all, going through now with like Breonna Taylor, right, and George Floyd,
Mm,
and any kind of healthy practices. And then also as part of that, I've always had a passion for fashion as well. So I have these beautiful kind of, flexible, one shoulder tops you can wear anywhere for women. And it's really about inspiring confidence in women and empowering them to be beautiful and just, live like abundant and amazing, confident lives. So that is what is next. And who knows? I'm always creating things and always thinking. So those are the main things that are coming forward. But definitely check out ginaliz.com. There will be more there. And I'm also teaching classes that are scheduled. You can see the schedule on there. I usually keep about 3 classes a week, and also doing community outreach. I didn't want to forget about that, with Girls
mhm.
for Change. So in October, doing something about similar to what we're talking about here: mindfulness, your journey in life, achieving your dreams, and doing that with young girls who are part of Girls for Change.
Wow. Wow. You are doing some incredible things out there, Regina.
Thank
And I
you
just
so
once again,
much.
no,
You are
thank you. And
too. You are too, always.
oh, I appreciate it. But folks out there, I mean, hopefully this interview has served as a reminder as you've gotten to hear Regina's story that you have control over the design of your life, regardless of your background, your socioeconomic status, your race, your ethnicity.
Right.
You truly have this opportunity to change it. And a lot of it will come with your mindset. And I can't stress enough for you to go out there and connect, find Regina, because if you need that extra dose of just positive energy into your universe, you will surely find whether it's the affirmations and the words of wisdom that she shares, you will certainly get it. And it will certainly help you once again to build that momentum that you'll need to designing your dream life. Anything else, Regina, you would like to just share with our audience?
I think that's it. I think that's it. Thank you so much, Justin. This has been beautiful. And you are always so inspiring to me. I always see all of the things that you are doing. And, keep doing this and keep growing and keep building. So, everyone needs it.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. So, folks, that is it for this episode, which I hope you enjoyed. Reaching out to you all through the time and the space that separates us. I want to thank you for your presence and tuning in today. And remember, your dream life is waiting for you. Go for it. You deserve it. Catch you later on Living Once Twice.